In this module we will discuss about lockout tagout or Loto procedure. We will discuss details about Loto in next parts. In this part we will learn what is lockout tagout or Loto procedure. Lockout is a technique used to prevent the release of hazardous energy, or to prevent the hazardous energy from escaping. A padlock is placed on the appropriate energy isolating device that is in the off or closed position. We will discuss more about Loto in next parts. In this part we will learn the fatal 5 main causes of lockout tagout injuries. Main causes of lockout tagout injuries are following: failure to stop equipment, failure to disconnect from power source, failure to dissipate, bleed, neutralize residual energy, accidental restarting of equipment, failure to clear work areas before restarting. That's the end of this part. See you in next part. In this part we will learn some key definitions in Loto procedure. Authorized employee, one who locks out machines or equipment in order to perform the servicing or maintenance on that machine or equipment. Affected employee, one whose job requires him/her to operate or use a machine or equipment on which servicing or maintenance is being performed under lockout, or whose job requires him/her to work in an area in which such servicing or maintenance is being performed. Energy isolating device, a mechanical device that physically prevents the transmission or release of energy. Energy control procedure, safety program adopted by the employer that includes energy control procedures plus provisions for inspecting the procedures and training employees for lockout tagout. That's the end of this part. See you in next part. In this part we will discuss about hazardous energy sources found in the workplace. The sources of electrical hazardous energy are generated, static. The sources of mechanical hazardous energy are transitional, rotational. The sources of thermal hazardous energy are machines or equipment, chemical reactions. The sources of potential hazardous energy are hydraulic, pneumatic, vacuum, springs, gravity. That's the end of this part. See you in next part. In this part we will discuss some example about types of lockout devices. Some popular lockout system is following: plug locks, ball valve lockout, gate valve lockout, group lockout hasp, hydraulic lockout, pneumatic lockout, gas cylinder lockout. We will discuss those in details in the next section. In this part we will discuss about some important lockout devices. Plug lockout, small and large. These plug lockout devices are used to surround the electrical plug and prevent against accidental reconnection. The patented rotating design enables easier installation in confined space applications. Ball valve lockout devices install over the handle to prevent it from being turned and equipment energized while it's locked out for maintenance. A padlock is installed through the lockout to ensure it isn't removed by unauthorized personnel. Gate valve lockouts deny access and cover a valve handle to help you turn a valve off and keep it off. We will discuss more lockout devices example in next parts. In this part we will discuss about some important lockout devices. A lockout hasp is used when more than one employee is involved in a lockout tagout operation. These employees work in a group on the same energy source. The hasps allow multiple padlocks to be used when isolating one energy source such as a piece of machinery or a power switch. MCB lock, the lockout safety miniature circuit breaker lockout, has been designed to lock out miniature circuit breakers and therefore prevent accidental switch on. Universal miniature circuit breaker lockout device locks out most miniature ISO, DIN pin-out circuit breakers throughout the world. Cable lockout devices secure one or more power sources using a single padlock to prevent power from being restored while equipment is serviced. A cable passes through switches or handles and is pulled tight. A padlock is required to keep the device in place and prevent unintended activation. We will discuss some more lockout devices example in next parts. In this part we will discuss about some important lockout devices. Steering wheel lockouts. These lockouts fit over steering wheels and have a printed message that informs equipment operators that the vehicle is being worked on so it is not started inadvertently. While the printed message alerts workers to the hazard, these devices do not prevent equipment from being started. Flange lockout. Flange lockout devices cover bolts on pipeline flanges to prevent the flange from being opened while the pipeline is under maintenance or repair. A padlock is required to ensure the lockout isn't removed by unauthorized personnel. We will discuss some more lockout devices example in next parts. In this part we will discuss about gas cylinder lockout and pneumatic lockouts. Gas cylinder lockout. Gas valve lockouts work by surrounding gas valve handles in order to protect against accidental valve opening. Pneumatic lockouts help to protect workers by preventing pneumatic fittings from being connected to a pressurized air source. We will discuss about group lockout in next part. In this part we will discuss about what is the use of group lockout box. Using a group lock box, and group lockout best practices, allows you to dramatically reduce the amount of locks required on a job, limit weight on each energy point by eliminating hasps, and it provides a quick overview of who is still working without going to each energy point. That's the end of this part. See you in next part. In this part we will discuss about sequence of lockout procedure. The steps are following. First is preparation for shutdown. In this part all affected and authorized employees are informed about shutdown plan and alert the operator that power is being disconnected. Next part is equipment shutdown. In this part equipment is shut down by authorized person. Equipment isolation is the next part after shutdown. In this part all local and remote equipment are isolated. Next part is application of lockout devices in all local and remote devices which can turn on the system. Control of stored energy is the next part after isolation. In this part all hazardous energy to be purged. The final step is the verification equipment isolation. That's the end of this part. See you in next part. In this part we will discuss about sequence of removal of lockout. The steps of removal of lockout are following. Ensure equipment is safe to operate. Safeguard all employees. Remove lockout, TAGU devices. Except in emergencies, each device must be removed by the person who put it on. Last person to take off lock. Follow checklist. That's the end of this part. See you in next part. In this part we will discuss about safe way to temporarily reactivating equipment under Loto. Sometime equipment under shutdown need to be reactivated for any emergency work, and to avoid any incident the following precautions to be taken. Remove unnecessary tools from the work area and make sure everyone is clear of the equipment. Remove lockout, TAGU devices and re-energize the system. As soon as the energy is no longer needed, isolate the equipment and reapply lockout, TAGU, using the 6-step procedure. That's the end of this part. See you in next part. In this part we will discuss what not to do during Loto. Never attempt lockout, TAGU procedures unless you have been trained and certified by your employer under an approved energy control program. Never loan or share your lock, combination, or key with anybody else. Always be sure all lockout, tagu devices are compatible with the environment in which they will be used, i.e. corrosive, humid, etc. That's the end of this part. See you in next part.
Thanks to you for attending the lecture. We will discuss about more topics related to safety in next lectures.